Today, we're going to talk about Nikola Jokic. I don't know about you, Adam, but he looked awfully good yesterday. Maybe third MVP. We're going to talk about the bench. We got to talk about the Denver Nuggets title chances as well. Y'all, we got a lot more coming up here on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Everybody on Locked On Nuggets. I am your host, Swipa, with the one, the only Adam Madez. And I am so excited to be here today. This is going to be an incredible episode, y'all. You know, Locked On Nuggets is your place to be. This is your team every day. Adam, how you doing today, brother? How's everything going your way?
Oh, man, it's good. I'm glad the preseason's over. Ready for a nice little weekend before this whole thing gets started.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm really excited. So, Adam, let's just go ahead and dive right into it. You have been the Nikola Jokic truther since 2014, basically. So with everything that you've seen from him in preseason, you've talked a lot about his shot volume, how much he is shooting this preseason. And then you get yesterday, 25 points, 14 rebounds, 8 assists, steal, 3 of 6 from 3. Adam, tell me, am I tripping? Are we thinking a little bit too much about this? How do you feel about how Nikola Jokic has played so far in the preseason?
He looks great. He looks aggressive. He looks focused. He looks like he has a point, that he wants to make. And then the thing you said, first of all, what I liked about the game yesterday in 28 minutes, it was an effortless 25, 14, and 8. And that's the old yoke, right? That's the yoke we know, and especially in the regular season where the numbers just pile up so easily. But the last part was the most interesting one to me. 6 3-point attempts, goes 3 of 6. Last year, he only had 4 games in the regular season where he took 6 3-point attempts. He never did it in fewer than 32 minutes. Last night, he did it in 28. It's kind of a trend. I don't know. I just think it's something that he took 6 threes in a game and that he's kind of been a quick trigger from 3 all of the preseason games.
Yeah, so I'm actually really excited about this. So, we talk a lot about, you and I before, but also just individually, that when you want to have like a really good number that you're averaging in a regular season setting, it's free throws, it's 3-point attempts. And I think, Adam, if he is shooting, because he took 4, I think, last season, about 4 a game, I want to say. If he's taking 5, 5.5, 6 3-pointers a game, and then, Adam, let's just live in a world where Jokic gets a couple more foul calls this year, and he's shooting 6 to 7 to 8 free throws a game. Adam, are we underestimating with how aggressive he's been, with maybe the fact that he came off this crazy playoff run, this crazy NBA Finals run? Are we underestimating the fact that Jokic could come into the season and be an aggressive scorer and maybe even 27, 28 points a game? Is that possible based on kind of the aggressiveness that you're seeing right now?
Are we underestimating it? I don't know. I mean, it's always possible with him. I will say this. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think this is a year where Jokic's scoring numbers are meaningfully different. 24.5 last year, I think 27 at its peak. My guess is that he's somewhere in between those two numbers, which is what we'd all predict. That being said, Jamal Murray looks more like a passer than ever. Even last night, I didn't think Murray was great. We could talk about him, but Murray had 7 assists last night. He's had a high assist total. He's been looking to pass and making great passes, and in particular to Jokic. His chemistry with Jokic looks better than ever in terms of getting the ball in the pocket.
Right.
So there is a chance that the added chemistry that we keep expecting from the Nuggets in the regular season benefits Jokic the most because he knows how to convert the best.
Yeah, and that's the thing about what Jamal is. I think on a per 36, Adam, I think he's averaging if I have it correct, I think it's 24-9 or something like that through the preseason. Look, in Jamal Murray last year, the last 57 games of the year, Adam, I think he shot 8 threes a game, and he shot 41% on those 3-point attempts. And he averaged 6.5, 7 assists as well. So, again, and I've been asking myself this question, because Jokic last year led the NBA in touches. They put the graphic up, 98 touches a game, 4.5 minutes, basically, that he had the ball in his hands over the course of a game, which was nothing compared to everybody else in his touch range. Is there a possibility, do you think, that Jokic is a little bit more off-ball this year to allow Jamal Murray to serve as a playmaker a little bit more in the offense? And if so, then the person who benefits the most from Jamal Murray being a playmaker is Jokic in that little pick and pop little step back, that Adamada special, the 3-pointers.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Do you foresee that possibly being a thing this year?
Yeah, I do. And you kind of talking about it, you're right that Jokic is both a creator and a finisher. And when the scale tilts more into the creator portion, the finishing portion goes down. Well, so the opposite is true, that if Murray takes on a little bit more of the creation, the finishing part becomes bigger for Jokic. So I could see it. Again, I don't think it's going to be drastically different. I don't think he's averaging 30 a game this year. I don't think his assists are going below 8 or 9, right? Like I don't think his numbers are going to change a whole lot. As crazy as it sounds, it's possible his efficiency goes up. Like as great as he was last year.
He was a 70% true shooting last night. So what are we saying? 74?
I mean, it's possible. So I just like Jokic's aggressiveness. I do wonder, opening night is a tone setter. And the second game of the year, they've got another rim protector in Jaren Jackson. I do just wonder if Jokic looks at the schedule and says, I'm going to have to shoot some threes early on. Let me, I'm just good. It's not a year-long thing. It's more of just hey, right out the gate, there's some rim protectors that I need to draw out of the paint. I need my three-point shot ready.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing with this too, Adam, is that it feels very – and again, I know it's within the flow of the offense, but I just feel like I feel like defenses are going to be responding to Jamal Murray a little bit differently because of the playoff run. And so even yesterday, I know you're playing against, come back up. It was Norman Powell because Zubac, Bones Highland, who had a really good game yesterday, 25 points in 24 minutes before the ankle injury. They had some starters out there and some high-level players. And so my thing is they were crashing so hard on those pick and rolls on Jamal Murray. And it's like, look, Michael Porter Jr., KCP, who had another good game yesterday. That's probably another sleeper dude, Adam, that I'm looking at he's been efficient this preseason. He looks really great defensively. Had 3 more steals last night, including some interception on some passes. Look, so I think I just think that the gravity, to take the Golden State Warriors word around Jamal Murray, it feels different this year. And it feels like he's being more intentional about utilizing his gravity for the sake of setting up his team. So again, it's just I think the Nuggets, I think the question is, because, we talk about this too, a lot of people have talked about losing Bruce Brown and how big of a loss that is, which is true. But as you even talked about on a recent show that you did, while that's important, they had a really bad bench in the regular season. They didn't have a good net rating last year. But if Jamal Murray is meaningfully better this year, man, again, even for Jokic, that just puts him in a different category, it feels like.
The gravity part of this is huge. And we didn't even see Michael Porter, by the way. And maybe some of this Jokic scoring was a result of that, not consciously, but just, hey, I got to score a little bit more because I don't have that extra pass to make. I don't know, probably not. But, you add Michael Porter to the mix, you add the increased chemistry, and you add Jamal Murray's being aggressive. And it would be funny, but also logical that the end result is Jokic scores more and more efficiently. And that's what it looks like. But, the question you have on here on the docket is Jokic better than ever? And I just honestly think that he is. I think he's skill-wise is more or less the same player. I think confidence-wise, he probably gets a little boost just because you win a title, you get a little bit of a boost. But more than anything, this is my big point that I keep trying to – I feel like I'm leading the charge on this Swipa, on this one point, because I genuinely believe it. There was a time when Jokic wasn't totally serious about basketball, I believe. Yeah. I think that every year that has gone on, there's been a fire in Jokic that kind of burns a little bit brighter every single year. Mm-hmm. I think it is not by you and me, but I think by the people outside of the Denver market that don't watch this every day and just follow narratives. They're always a year or two behind. I don't think people realize how big that fire is inside of Jokic. And to me, that's what I think this preseason has been all about. Training camp and preseason. Jokic seems to be burning inside in a way that I haven't seen before. And that alone makes him a better player.
Yeah, and again, I mean, we remember, I think it was the 2018-19 year, the first 2 months of the year, Jokic was averaging 16 and 8, and he was out of shape a little bit coming into the season. And people they make fun of it. Obviously, CJ McCollum, I saw Harrison, put the little clip up from CJ's podcast that he did, and CJ said, he doesn't think that he watches film or anything like that. And obviously, CJ said he was joking. He knows that Jokic is a really good player.
Joking.
Right. And then, you have people speculating Jokic is watching horses on his phone next to Jamal Murray. Are we tired of you this little shit? Yeah, that's who he is. But this is the thing, Adam. You that question that you asked him still sticks in my brain. Jokic, you were watching some random Serbian basketball documentary. Do you do this frequently in your own time? And he said that, I think in order to be good at basketball, what did he say, Adam? Because that was your quote.
Fanatic.
You got to be a fanatic. And I just think that, like, Jokic is just like, I feel like people are sleeping on the fact that Jokic has had one of the most dominant postseason runs ever. And you somehow think that he's going to be a little less aggressive coming into the next year.
I'm telling you that I really do. But it's not even about aggressive, Swipa. He could be less aggressive. Like maybe the preseason was an anomaly. But it's just more about his motivation. And I think a lot of people, myself included, by the way, thought that maybe he would come in a little less motivated and it would take a year to regain the motivation, until the playoffs arrive. But that just doesn't seem the case. He does seem to have this Mamba mentality that grows in him a little bit more every single year. I think, by the way, Jamal Murray has that same thing. I think Aaron Gordon has that same thing, just based on like the interactions I've had, watching them, observing them, and then obviously how they play. But Yoke's the part to me that I just think it's so – and he's done this to himself, by the way. When CJ McCollum goes on that pod and says – by the way, I don't think CJ was joking, but at the same time, Jokic has crafted a brand of I don't care about these things. So you can't get mad when somebody like CJ McCollum falls for the act. Mm-hmm. So – but people are saying that, but I think Yoke almost does it purposefully to disguise the fact that this guy is, as he calls it, a fanatic and is obsessed with winning – and is obsessed more and more every year with being the best player he can be.
Yeah, I love that. And it's like he's the opposite of Jordan. Jordan was very clear about how he felt about you and him, and he used anything for motivation. He was very public about it, whereas Jokic, I think Jokic's shtick, as you talked about before, is he lets people think that he's not as engaged. But again, I think Jokic just weaponizes that in a really different way. And I think that allows for him to not make it about him publicly. Yeah. But I think on the other end of that, it just makes him maybe the most dangerous man on the court on a night-by-night basis.
He's got a little Michael Corleone to him, man. It's quiet, it's calm, but inside, there's a storm going.
Right. Well, y'all, segment 2, we're going to talk about Adam. Who do you trust on the Denver Nuggets bench? Are there players that stand out? Or some players that you're a little iffy about? We're going to find out next in segment 2, back here on Locked On Nuggets. But y'all, I got to tell y'all about FanDuel. Now, if you are like me and Adam, we are both Denver Broncos fans, born and raised in Colorado. Now, before the season, I think I was going to put a bet in. I'm not going to lie, Adam, that the Broncos were going to hit over on their win total.
I believe you were. I believe you were going to put that bet in.
And I don't think that's going to work at all. I actually would say I would be very surprised if the Denver Broncos win 4 games this year. But I think if you're in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, you should not try to do that at all. So this year, you can snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. Now, if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over, under, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn and kick off the NFL season. We'll be right back. Locked On Nuggets. And we're back. Segment 2, Adam Manes, Swipa, 2 of your 3 favorite Denver Nuggets content creators. Y'all, we have to talk about this Denver Nuggets bench, Adam, because I think there are some storylines that came out. I was a little concerned in the first half when I saw no Peyton Watson, but then when the second half started, he came out as the starter. I kind of got an idea of what they were doing. Is there anything that has stood out for you, and do you have particular players that have played so far this preseason that you have more confidence in than others as we get ready for the upcoming year?
I mean, of course, some guys have risen and fallen in my trust ranking. I think the easiest way for me sort of to conceptualize this is to go line by line and just kind of go through the guys. I mean, Christian Brown didn't play, but he was already in the circle of trust. Yeah. Him being injured is a real bummer. If he's not available on opening night, I think it's a real hit to Denver's chances of winning on opening night. Right. But if we go through, let's just start. Julian Strawther. Do I trust him? And I would say, yes, I trust him to play minutes right out of the gate. Would I be surprised if he played poorly in those minutes? I don't think I would. I don't think I would. The NBA is tough. There's a learning curve. And as good as he played in preseason, I would not be surprised if he struggled. But I do trust him to know what to do and to be in the right spots and to have a pretty steep learning curve as the year goes on. So for me, I start with Julian Strawther. I do trust him, albeit with the caveat that I know I don't have high expectations.
Right. Yeah, I think that Christian Watson, obviously, I think the Nuggets have 6 starters. I think Christian Brown, my bad. Christian Brown will be the player that's going to be the 6th starter for the Nuggets. So I don't have any concerns about him because we know what he is. And I think even the way the coaches have talked about his improved ball handling and playmaking, I think he's going to have like a nice little leap this season, and hopefully he's available game 1. But you know what's funny? I think at this point in time, if I had to say the person I trust next in that list, I mean, part of me wants to say Reggie Jackson because we kind of got to see Reggie have a couple good games this preseason, but I just don't love Reggie Jackson's play style, so like it's hard for me to lean into that, but he was good. But I think it might be Julian, but it's just because Julian just adds something to this team that he is like what Bones was last year, but it's just more team friendly. But I don't mean like in terms of play style. It's just more so the fact that you have somebody that can extend a court 30 feet out. Right. And the fact that you have somebody that can put pressure at the rim, which is a surprising thing, and get to the basket and even create opportunities for other people. I think he just stretches the defense out to a point where if you have Reggie, Christian, or Peyton, or Zeke, and then obviously Jamal's in there somewhere, I think he just adds another layer of opportunity to this team. And again, even defensively, it's not, even if he's like struggled defensively, because of his size and his athleticism, he's not going to be a clear negative defensively. So I think he can get better and more comfortable as the season goes along, where he's an actual plus player for the Nuggets.
But if I told you that in the first 2 games of the season, he played 15 minutes, opening night and on Friday at Memphis, and he went 1 of 7 through 2 games from 3, and looked poor on defense or got beat on defense. Not egregious, but looked bad. Would you be surprised?
No, rookie.
And that's the thing, is we trust him because we think he's a good player, this or that, but he's still with the caveat of he's a rookie and he's going to be up and down. And I think that's exactly how I feel. Very high on Julian. I think he needs the runway, but I also do think that we should expect some nights where it's like, man, he missed 4 wide open threes.
So again, and I'll bring this up again, it's a different approximation, but Christian Brown, like by game 2, we knew he was special because we saw him make some plays. So what would you need to see, even if it's just like a moment? Like, are there kinds of moments that you would need to see from Julian Strawther in the first couple games of the year that would make you say, yeah, I think this dude is going to be a winning player for the Nuggets this year?
Well, obviously knocking down the 3-pointers would be big because opening night's going to be a lot of pressure. So if he plays and knocks them down, it's like, hey, man, that's about as much pressure as you're going to feel in the regular season. It goes up in the playoffs. But if you can handle that atmosphere, that's a good sign. And then those back cuts, to me, like Jokic caught him on a couple passes going to the rim. Yeah. And to me, they all were within the flow of the offense. They were on things that come out of continuity offense. So if I see a couple of those, it's like, all right, if he's getting those on night number 1, he's probably going to get more of those on night number 82. So I think that those are the 2 things. And then defensively, it's less about what do I want to see and more about what do I not want to see. I don't want to see him out of position. I don't want to see him just getting horribly blown by guys too often.
Okay. So if you had to go, you have Christian Brown, Julian Strawther, who would be next up on your list in terms of people that you might have in a circle of trust for the bench?
So let me just go. I think honestly, Zeke Naji might be next for me in that I think he provides something. I think he's consistent at something. And when we start to get to Reggie and Justin Holiday, Peyton Watson, Hunter Tyson, they provide things, but inconsistently. Even Reggie Jackson is going to provide scoring inconsistently. Zeke Naji, I think, is always going to provide defense. He's always going to provide energy, which, by the way, is don't take that for granted. The bench is going to need guys that just bring energy. That's one of the things Christian Brown always brings. So I think Zeke Naji is going to bring some things that I can say, I don't have high hopes that he's going to overcome his flaws, every night. But I do think that he is going to provide certain things every night. And so he's probably the next guy for me.
Yeah, that's tough. I think that probably for me, next up is going to be Reggie Jackson. So it's going to be CB, Julian, and Reggie. Now, again, this is not about like a play style preference, but in terms of who I trust to manage a game and to know what they're supposed to do, then Reggie's obviously the next closest one. But I just think that because of his skill set, he's played so much NBA basketball that even yesterday, like, there was a point where he got caught at the top of the key. It was him and Jamal Murray in the court, which I don't love, by the way. I hope I don't see that a lot.
You're gonna if he plays, he's gonna be playing with Jamal. So buckle up.
Yeah, right. Jamal and Facu and stuff again. So I think if you're in that situation, he got the ball and he got stuck at the top of the key, and instead of like getting to the basket, he did a even further step back and then hoisted up a three that did not go in. And so some of this is he's a little bit of a process stopper sometimes when he shoots the ball, but at the end of the day, like, it is what it is. I just think that right now, until we see probably the person I'm going to talk about last on this list step up like they need to, then I think he's probably the most likely one that's going to be in that circle of trust. So I think Reggie Jackson is third for me. Who do you have after that? So
then I would put Reggie and Justin Holiday to me are the guys that come in next. And again, it's less about trust, right?
Right.
Because trust, I do trust them to do. Like, I feel like I know exactly what Reggie Jackson's going to be. It's going to be a flip a coin. Right. Is it an efficient shooting night or an inefficient shooting night? And I think you can lose the minutes on an efficient Reggie shooting night. And I think you could probably win them on an efficient one. It's almost like it doesn't tip the scales. He provides that type of scoring. He's going to take the same types of shots. And so I do think he'll be consistent there. I just don't trust it. I think inconsistency of outcome is one of the hardest things for a coach to manage. Like, you throw him out there and you say, I don't know if he's going to make his shots tonight or not. I know he's not going to really run the offense. He's not going to like get guys going. I know he's not going to really be a huge negative defensively. He's going to kind of like play regular defense guard, not make mistakes or whatever. But I just don't because of the fact that he is such a chaos agent in terms of does he make or miss that at any given night. That's why I'm a little lukewarm on him. And the same goes for Justin Holiday. I think Justin Holiday is going to consistently do the same things. Whether or not it's impactful will be very random. It will be very inconsistent every night.
Yeah, well, the next two after me is going to be Zeke. Again, I think switch bigs in the NBA are super valuable. I think having a 5 that can do that. He actually made his free throws yesterday as well. He scored decently in the preseason, so he's shown that he's finishing a little better than he typically has. That three-point shot is still not back. He changed the shot up 2 years ago, and then it's still rebuilding ever since he had 40% from three. But then next probably is going to be, look, I'm probably going to put Peyton Watson there. He was a plus 15 yesterday.
He was. I thought he was good the other day. I actually thought he was pretty good.
Right. And he gets to the rim well. Like, that's the other part about this. Like, he creates pressure at the rim, and he's a playmaker a little bit at the rim. Again, if I compare him to Justin Holiday for me is the dude that's like, he won't absolutely floor it out there. Like, he's not going to just bottom out. But on the other end, he's also not going to do a lot of things that are just objectively positive either. So he's out there just kind of existing. I don't typically love players like that because I want you to have something you declaratively bring to the skill set, to the table as a skill set. And I just think Peyton Watson's defensive skill set, he just needs time. Yeah. He needs time and he needs repetition. But I think when Peyton, from now to game 82, if you play 75 games, he's going to be a way different player. So I think this is just the point. You just have to invest in the talent and in the intellect, because that's what Calvin Booth is betting on. That's what Malone is betting on. That's what Peyton is betting on.
He's low on mine. I mean, I think only ahead of Hunter Tyson for me in terms of trust, because I know how trust to me is all about consistency and really consistency of floor and what you're doing. And to me, he has a lot to learn. That being said, I think Peyton Watson needs to play. And one of the tough things about this year is Malone always is, you got to earn it, you got to earn it, you got to earn it. Peyton Watson, more than anything, needs reps. Now, what I'll say is Peyton Watson, to me, needs to focus all of his energy on just playing as hard as he can. I think Peyton Watson's best bet would be to play so hard that every now and then he has to look to the bench and say, I need one. I need a breather. And it's like, yeah, of course. You've ratcheted up your intensity to 100%, and that burns quickly. Right now, I don't think he does that. I do think he's too focused on being a two-way player and trying to be a smooth player and these different types of things. And to me, Michael Malone, I just know to earn Michael Malone's trust, he's going to have to do the dirty work. And to do the dirty work, he's going to have to play at 100 miles per hour. Once he builds that foundation, I think the other parts of his game were going to get better. But they're only going to get better if he plays, and he's only going to play if he does those things.
Yeah, but Adam, did you see the KCP, Peyton, AG minutes? I thought that defensive trio looked great. So again,
numbers on it?
What was it?
74 defensive rating with him on the court. That's insane.
That's what I mean. It's just like, all right, He might not score well, but you ain't scoring either. I just think that's it. And so I think he needs more time.
But Justin Holiday's out of the way. Justin Holiday on offense has stood out like 5 times all preseason. Honestly, right. Ball kicks to him in the corner and he shoots it. And you're like, oh, there's Justin Holiday. I forgot about him.
Right.
And that's okay. I think Peyton Watson can be that guy early on. He's better than that, but he has to build the foundation first.
Right. Well, and then by the way, Adam, before we close out segment 2, you also did a show for Locked On NBA, and you talked about the 6 contenders. I think the 5 contenders, 6 contenders in the NBA. What were some of your takeaways from that conversation? You talked to who were all the teams there? So it was the Celtics, it was the Heat,
it
was not the Lakers, it was the Suns, and then it was the Bucks, and then the Nuggets.
A good conversation. You can check it out. It's on our YouTube channel as well. My standout to that is honestly, Denver is the team that is not speculating. Every other team is speculating. Our conversation is, well, if this and then that, if these 2 guys together, then that. Denver's the only one that's like, yeah, this is who they are, and I think they can do that again.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was funny when I heard somebody said, just like the Miami Heat, Denver's under the radar, and I was just like, oh, okay, all right, great. All right, y'all, so that's segment 2. We will be right back with Locked On Nuggets for segment 3. So, I think it's really important, obviously, where we are in this world, that you have access to medical supplies that are important and that are very helpful. And so I think oftentimes it's really important for me. I always have like a first aid kit whenever I travel, whenever I'm going anywhere. And when I travel from Atlanta to Denver, I always try to make sure I have something on me just in case, because you just literally never know what's going to happen. Hand sanitizers, masks, all kind of stuff. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world today, and it's very important to be prepared. Whether it's fires in Hawaii, whether it's just political climate stuff you're dealing with when you go and you travel different places, you're unsure where bed bugs in Paris, whether it's hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, and more. The Jase case is a personalized emergency medication kit that contains 5 essential antibiotics that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infection. You can also customize your case and add additional life-saving medication based on your unique needs. Jase Medical now offers customizability for your Jase case with dozens of add-on medication. You can choose the medication that best fit you and your family's unique needs. Now, Jase is continually working to expand their medication offering in these most recent efforts, and they've added ivermectin as an option in Jase case. You can also get gift cards for a family, friend, or a loved one so that they can get a Jase case of their own. Go to jasecasemedical.com and enter code LOCKEDON at checkout for a $20 discount on your order. That's promo code LOCKEDON at jasemedical.com. We'll be right back. Locked On Nuggets. And we're back. Here we are for segment 3 with Adam Mares and Swipa. And Adam, the big question that everybody wants answered, based on everything that you've seen from the starters, without obviously MPJ and the bench, without Christian Brown, how confident are you that the Nuggets are ready to defend their NBA title?
Reasonably confident. I think it's going to be a process, as every year, every season is a process. That's why you play the game. This is not the team that won the championship last year, although it is a lot of the most important players are back. But I am confident that the Nuggets will get there. And that's the whole part of it is, and this was when you asked me in the last segment at the very end about my conversation with the other hosts, that more than anything is what I'm confident. And I said this on the DNBA show last night, but I trust in the Nuggets' talent, and I trust in the Nuggets' resolve. How they get there, I'm not sure. We're going to find out. Is it Peyton Watson's growth? Is it Julius Strawther fitting in? I don't know. I just know something is going to happen with that second unit to get them ready by the postseason because of the Nuggets culture, because of their character, and because of what they've learned through all of their trials and tribulations of the last few years. That is still the core of who this team is.
Right. Yeah. Maybe this is a part of the brand that I have or something like that, but I feel a little bit more confident, I feel like, than most people do. But I just think that the process that the Nuggets have, they just look like a very dangerous team. I think a team that is sweltering with confidence, not to the point of arrogance. Like they don't disrespect anyone when they play on the court, and they don't undermine you based on who you are. But I think the Nuggets, when I watch Jamal and Joker and Gordon on the court together, and then I watch what KCP is doing, I just don't know how many teams in the NBA have that kind of connectivity, that trust each other that much. There's not a play, especially between those three, when they're on the court together, that they don't know exactly where they're supposed to be. And so to have your 3 or 4 best players on the court and everybody fully knows their assignment and they know the pecking order, and the best player on the court is also like a dude that like can just masterfully walk into 25, 14, and 8 out of nowhere on high efficiency. And even defensively, I do think it's going to take them some time to get fully reacclimated with playing high-level defense. But again, just from a process standpoint, a confidence standpoint, and a belief standpoint, they just won the NBA championship. They just proved that they're the best. And there wasn't like a small gap. It was a big gap between them and the rest of the NBA. Because the Bucks lost in 5 to the Miami Heat team. The Celtics went down 3-0 to the Miami Heat team. That same culture they met with in the finals, and they put 4-1 on them. It wasn't even a question of like, okay, you might be a team that's tough and has its own identity, but we're tougher, better, and we have our own identity. And I just think that the Nuggets, they are just so locked into who they are. And that's the deciding factor, I think, between them and being able to go into this year knowing that they should be the championship favorite within their own mentality.
I think that confidence is real. I think there's no question about it. This starting lineup is going to be unbelievably dynamic. The bench unit is obviously going to be the anchor on them, and they're going to have to figure that part out. But I just think Denver's up for that challenge. And by come April, I just think the team is going to be better than it is right now. And I even think it's going to be better than it was last year. The starting lineup is going to be better. I think, like I said, to me, the big story is Jamal Murray took some time off this summer. He went to the Canada practice and looked like he was going to play and said, no, I needed more time. Right. And I think people maybe thought, are they tired of this or that? No, I just think they mentally knew what it was going to take to recharge the battery, to be able to be as motivated as they are in October. This is the most motivated I've seen them at this point in the season. And I mean that sincerely. They seem extremely focused and motivated. And that's just why I'm picking them. I just think I really do have a lot of confidence and a lot of faith in this team, and it's kind of a funny place to be in.
Yeah, and I think the biggest critique that even I listened to the show that you did, and I've listened to other places you've been. I think in conversations I've had with people, even Jason Temp with Hoops tonight, him and I had a conversation. A lot of people are making a really big deal about Bruce Brown and Jeff Green, and it's not that I don't disagree, that they're losses. But I think if you're telling me that you have a 28-year-old best player in the world, a 26-year-old ascending guard, a 25-year-old ascending wing, a 28-year-old two-way wing, and then a 32-year-old KCP who –
he's not that old, is he?
I think he's 31. I think he's 31 or 32 because KCP might be a couple years younger than I am.
Okay.
He's 30.
He's 30.
He's 30. Okay, he's 30. But that's what I'm saying. Like, the way that people talk about the Nuggets, it's just like – so you don't think any of these 20-year-olds are getting any better?
Right.
At all. But that's what I'm saying. I feel like people almost want that to happen because that makes it more achievable to think they'll step back. But I'm just saying, if you're telling me that the bench takes a while to come together, well, it took a while to come together last year. And it wasn't solved until Aaron Gordon went to the bench.
Yeah. It actually never got solved. It just stopped playing.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Even last year, it was Jabal and AG plus Bruce Brown and Christian Brown and Jeff Green that made that work. So if you're telling me that now it's Jamal, Aaron Gordon with Julian Strother and Christian Brown, and then one more player in there, well, guess what? I still feel very good about their chances. Adam, they had a plus 13 net rating as a starting unit last year.
Gonna be the same this year, I think.
Right. So I'm just saying, so whatever you think it is that you're going to have to struggle with, well, guess what? Joker can play one more minute a game. He can play 35 minutes a game. Jamal Murray can play more minutes if he needs to because he's healthy now. So if Jamal Murray doesn't have that bad 25-game stretch to start this year off, then the Nuggets are noticeably better coming into the year. So I don't know. I just think that more should be taken to the fact that the Nuggets' young prime championship core is going to be better because they're going to be more they're going to be closer. They're going to have played together more, and they're just going to be healthier, and they're just going to be locked in.
I think that here's my take on the bench. Here's my take on the team and the bench. I think the bench is going to be better than it was last year, but feel worse.
Right.
Like the bench was so bad last year, we kind of forgot it because of how good the playoffs were. But I think that the bench unit last year was really bad. And this year it's going to be inconsistently bad, but sometimes good. And I do think there'll be growth. I'm excited. The one thing I wish, and this changes, I think, the way we view what the Nuggets look like in the preseason. We didn't have Michael Porter, which means one bench player was always with the starters. And we didn't have Christian Brown, who is the best bench player. I do think that both of those guys are going to make a meaningful impact on how we feel about the bench because of how it changes the rotation. That being said, the point guard part of this, I think, is very tricky. I do think that Denver's best lineup that they might arrive to in short order is going to be Jamal Murray, Christian Brown, Julian Strawther, Peyton Watson, and Zeke Naji. I think it's going to take half a year to arrive at that one. I think they're going to arrive at it. And then it's going to take a quarter year for that unit to be good. But I do think it's going to be good at some point. And it's going to have an identity, which is important. And, going into the playoffs, you probably cut one of those guys out of that rotation, but it's going to look really good.
So, again, just my final point, Adam, is if the Nuggets starters are better, which we're both anticipating they will be, and they're going to have maybe the best net rating in basketball. And then if the bench isn't 29th, let's say the bench is 26.
That's not that much of a difference, but okay.
Right. That's 3 spots better. So if the starters are better and then the bench is
a little bit better,
much better,
a little bit,
then that sounds like a little bit more winning to me.
Swipa math, man. I like it. I'm in. This is Swipa analytics.
Well, y'all, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Nuggets. You will hear from us again when Adam and Matt come back for the Monday episode, y'all. And then we're tapping into Game 1 banner night for your Denver Nuggets. We will see y'all on the other side.